The book icons are drawn to reflect the idea or something significant in the book, which helps you to remember the name of the book. For Genesis, the heaven and the earth is the icon, because it says in the Bible, "In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth." The icon for Exodus is the Red Sea divided waves, because it says in the Bible, Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the waters were divided. The icon for Leviticus is the wilderness sanctuary, because it says in the Bible, "This is the sum of the tabernacle, as it was counted, according to the commandment of Moses, for the service of the Levites." The icon for Deuteronomy is the open book. And Moses wrote this law. At the end of every 7 years, read this law before all Israel. Take this book of the law and put it in the side of the ark. The icon for 1 Samuel is the scepter, to represent Saul being king. And Samuel said to all the people, "See ye him whom the Lord hath chosen, that there is none like him among all the people." And all the people shouted and said, "God save the king." The icon for 1 Chronicles is one scroll, and the rest of the acts of Hezekiah. Are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? The Chronicles were written on scrolls. To remember, there are 29 chapters in 1 Chronicles. The ends of the scroll are made into a 2 and a 9. Since 1 Chronicles is about the generations from Adam to King David. An A for Adam is drawn with his 2 hands, taking the apple. And since David had the ark brought to Jerusalem, a D for David is drawn on its side, with green grass on the bottom. And the golden rectangle to illustrate the ark, and the white half-circle to depict a cloth covering the 2 golden angels on top of the ark. The top part of the 9 is made into a gold nugget, and the bottom a beam of wood, to portray all the building materials David collected during his kingship for his son Solomon to build the temple for God. The icon for Psalms is a music note with the stem going down, because it says in the Bible, "I will sing of the mercies of the Lord forever." Psalms means a spiritual song, and a music note reflects this idea. The Psalms music note is drawn with the stem down to make the letter P for Psalms. The icon for Ecclesiastes is a preacher holding a mirror, because it says in the Bible, "Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, vanity of vanities. All is vanity." The icon for Isaiah is the angel with 6 wings saying, because it says in the Bible, "The vision of Isaiah." Above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. The icon for Jeremiah is the dungeon, with mire under the building, because the Bible says, "Then took they Jeremiah and cast him into the dungeon. And in the dungeon there was no water but mire, so Jeremiah sunk in the mire." The icon for Ezekiel is the golden 2-wheel cart, because the Bible says, "The word of the Lord came expressly unto Ezekiel the priest, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel." The icon for Daniel is the feather pen and parchment paper, because it says in the Bible, "Daniel had a dream, and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream." The icon for Jonah is the great fish that swallowed Jonah, because it says in the Bible, "Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights." The icon for Malachi is a large jewel, because the Bible says, And they shall be mine, saith the Lord of hosts, in that day when I make up my jewels. The icon for Matthew is the Matthew crown. Because it says in the Bible, "There came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he that is born King of the Jews?" Matthew is the first of the four Gospels and portrays Jesus as king, so a crown is used for the icon of Matthew. The top of the crown spells out M-A-T-T-H-E-W for Matthew. The icon for Mark is a towel, because the Bible says, "The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath." Mark is the second of the four Gospels and portrays Jesus as a servant, so a towel is the icon for Mark, because Jesus washed the disciples' feet. The icon for Luke is a man, because the Bible says, "Behold my hands and my feet, that it is I myself. Handle me and see, for a spirit hath not flesh and bones, as ye see me have." Luke is the third of the four Gospels and portrays Jesus as a man, so a man is the icon for Luke. This icon spells out Luke. The nose of the man makes the L. The bottom of the face makes the U. The body and legs make the K. And the hand going out makes the E in Luke. The icon for John is God's hands holding the world, because it says in the Bible, "All things were made by him." For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. John is the fourth of the four Gospels and portrays Jesus as God. So hands making the world is used for the icon of John. The icon for Acts is a stage, because the Bible says, "Go, stand and speak in the temple to the people all the words of this life." The apostles standing and speaking to the people in the temple is similar to actors performing on stages, and acts are performed on stages. So a stage is the icon for Acts. The icon for Romans is a Roman column on the land to represent the Christians in Rome, because it says in the Bible, "To all that be in Rome." The icon for 1 Corinthians is one palm tree on a peninsula, because the Bible says, "Eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. Since the things that God has prepared for them that love him is paradise." A paradise scene of a tropical peninsula with one palm tree is the icon for 1 Corinthians. The icon for 2 Corinthians is two palm trees with a sun on a peninsula, because the Bible says, "For God who commanded the light to shine out of darkness, how that he was caught up into paradise." Like 1 Corinthians, a paradise scene is also used for 2 Corinthians, because Paul was caught up into paradise in 2 Corinthians. A sun is drawn in 2 Corinthians, because we think of paradise being sunny, and because there are familiar verses in 2 Corinthians which mention light, shine, and glory. The icon for Ephesians is the first church in Revelation by the sea, because the Bible says, "Unto the angel of the church of Ephesus write, and hath raised us up and made us sit together in heavenly places." Since the phrase "in heavenly places" is mentioned 4 times in the Bible, and they are all in Ephesians. A blue cloud with birds above the church are drawn to depict "in heavenly places." The icon for Colossians is an angel with 4 clouds over the land, because the Bible says, "Let no man beguile you of your reward in voluntary humility and worshiping of angels." The icon for 1 Thessalonians is the tower by the sea with the lady Thessalonica, because the Bible says, "For when they shall say, peace and safety. Then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Thessalonica is a city on the northern coast of the Mediterranean Sea. It was founded in 315 BC and named for a sister of Alexander the Great. One of the principal landmarks is the White Tower on the waterfront. Therefore, a white tower with a lady on top, to represent Alexander the Great's sister, Thessalonica, is drawn on the north side of the sea for 1 Thessalonians. The icon for 1 Timothy is a baby, because the Bible says, "Unto Timothy, my own son in the faith, for we brought nothing into this world." The icon for Hebrews is the cross and burnt offering altar, because it says in the Bible, "Sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not, but a body hast thou prepared me. He taketh away the first, that he may establish the second." Hebrews is written to the Hebrews to help them understand that their old system of sacrifices had now been done away. Instead of bringing a lamb to be sacrificed for their sins and burnt with wood on the altar, the real lamb was sacrificed on the wood of the cross. The icon for 1 Peter is one light green stone, because the Bible says, "Simon, whom he also named Peter." Since Jesus renamed Simon to Peter, which means a stone, one light green stone is the icon for 1 Peter. The icon for 2 Peter is two dark green stones. The icon for 1 John is one pink heart, because the Bible says, "Behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God." Since John is the beloved disciple, and John speaks about love so much in his writings, the icon for 1 John is John drawn as a heart, because when people saw John, they saw his love. The icon for Jude is a person falling, because the Bible says, "Now unto him that is able to keep you from falling." The icon for Revelation is 12 jewels in an R shape, because the Bible says, "And the foundations of the wall of the city were garnished with all manner of precious stones,